For the last decade, we've seen the rise of popularity of comic books, video games, fantasy books, and geek billionaires. We have reached a level where being nerd or a geek is considered to be mainstream and cool. As a product of that, nerd culture has leaked into more mainstream media. That's why you see more movies and TV series being based on comic books and fantasy novels. You also see unlikely characters using references of Dungeons & Dragons, World of Warcraft, among other things. And all of this sounds great. Now more people can bond over stuff that were considered too niche before. That lonely kid who grew up playing Zelda and reading Dune now can openly talk about his hobbies without fear of being judged. So why do I say there's a problem with modern nerd media? Well, it's because most of it's not really made for or by nerds, and as such, it doesn't really understand nerd culture. Let's take for example The Big Bang Theory, one of the most successful TV series in recent history. The series revolves around a group of friends who are pretty much stereotypical nerds. They're quirky, socially awkward, and enjoy video games, cosplay, etc. If you are considered to be the nerd of your social circle, it's very likely that at some point one of your friends told you, "Wow, you're just like that character from The Big Bang Theory." 9 times out of 10, they mean Sheldon. And they don't mean anything bad by the remark. However, why does it feel like some kind of mockery? Well, it might be because in The Big Bang Theory, being a nerd is not a good thing. Ironically, in a show where the main cast are representation of the nerd and geek culture, they are mocked constantly for being nerds. Most of the jokes revolve around them having geeky hobbies.
Just never played Dungeons & Dragons with girls before.
Oh, don't worry, sweetie, no one has.
And other jokes are just the cast making references to nerd culture.
What are you doing?
Playing Super Mario on a poorly coded Nintendo 64 emulator.
That's funny. I mean,
That's funny.
It's weird because the situation really isn't funny.
I know, but the laughing tells me that it's funny.
They have timing, man. They have timing for sure.
Even the main premise of the show is about how incredible it is for the nerd guy to be with the attractive neighbor, like some kind of Beauty and the Beast tale.
Who are you?
I'm her husband.
No, you're not.
And even then, the nerd guy is Leonard, the most normal of the bunch. The one that acts as a translator between the nerds and non-nerds, and the one that makes an effort to hide his geekiness from others, because sometimes he feels ashamed of it.
How pathetic is that?
Not as pathetic as dressing up like this and going to a comic book store on New Year's Eve.
That's what happens when people use nerd culture without really understanding it. It might come off as insulting, even though that was not really the intention. In comparison, look at shows like Community, whose creator is Dan Harmon, a bona fide nerd who loves Dungeons & Dragons. So when Community made a Dungeons & Dragons episode, you can be sure they took it seriously. The whole episode revolved around the characters playing D&D, but all the jokes are made in the context of the game.
I attack him! I attack Blackface!
It's a critical hit.
What?
You've decapitated him. Brutalitops is dead.
What? No!
Another good example is South Park's episode Make Love Not Warcraft, where they relentlessly made fun of people who played World of Warcraft, but they did it in such a way that it was equally funny to avid players of the game and to people who had no idea what World of Warcraft was. The fact that most of the episode occurs inside the game and that they use the context of the culture of World of Warcraft to develop the plot shows the level of respect that South Park had to the source material. So, if it's proven that you can take geeky and nerdy things and adapt them to mainstream media with success, why is it so rare? Why are most adaptations so lackluster? Well, I think it's because the people in charge have no faith in nerd culture. That's why when there's a movie adaptation from a comic book, they make changes like altering backstories or changing the costumes, with the excuse that the non-fan public will not understand or won't like it, so they try to make it as mainstream as possible, but they end up tarnishing the source material and then no one likes the adaptation. And a lot of people dislike that bad habit of big Hollywood studios. They feel like they are ruining the legacy of what they consider dear to them. Imagine how many people won't give the cartoon of Avatar: The Last Airbender a chance because the movie sucked, thinking that the movie is a fair representation of the cartoon. Luckily, from time to time, we end up with films like Deadpool, where the people that made it were legitimate fans of the character. They went against what was standard in the industry, and we ended up with one of the best comic book films ever made, one that is loved by fans and non-fans alike. And even though one might feel that the constant adaptations and this mainstream nerddom is hurting the real nerd culture, I think it's really the opposite. Yeah, it might not be a real representation of what being a nerd or a geek is like, but it has helped develop the nerd population more than ever. Think about it. Nowadays you can have a heated conversation with almost anyone about who would win in a fight between Iron Man and Batman. And shows like Game of Thrones have made people pick up a book for the first time in their lives. Even playing video games for a living is a legitimate career now. So there really hasn't been a better time to be a nerd. Now I wanna hear from you guys. What is the nerdiest thing about you? In my case, I think it's the fact that I probably know more about the history of Westeros than my own countries. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Maybe subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you would like to help me make more videos like this one, consider becoming a Patreon.